Welcome, 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 welcome. As the song pointed out, there is a lot going on that is hurting our communities. The song gave me chill bumps in spaces because it's so spot on. And it's our grassroots organizations that are out there working to address those issues. From providing meals to working on housing issues, health access, democracy issues, voting rights, LGBTQ issues, women's issues, and the list goes on and on and on. We have grassroots organizations across our state that are working hard to remedy these situations that our fellow Texans are facing. And most of us are doing it with volunteers that work tirelessly with limited resources. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this weekly show. First, we want to celebrate the great work that all of our organizers are doing. And importantly, we want to offer alternative solutions to the way we are funded. Because we all know that relying on volunteers alone is unsustainable in this political climate that has a long road ahead before we get to change the trajectory that our state has taken. It seems to me that some people in power in Texas have forgotten the origin story of our state name that is derived from the Caddo word for friend or ally, and instead insist on dividing us. But we, as grassroots organizers, we refuse to accept division. And that is why we remain dedicated to helping our communities. Before we get started on our conversation, a few reminders about the rules for this show. We are a friendly and supportive community. However, if anyone chooses to act otherwise, we will immediately take that Texas boot of ours and kick them out, because this is meant to be a very safe space for all of us. At the end of our conversation today, we will have the after chat, or if you want to call it chisme, like Alex does, we'll have the chisme session. For those of you who don't speak Spanish, that means gossip. So stick around for the after chat. We think it won't last any more than 30 minutes, but if you have a burning thing you want to say and it takes longer, we'll make a few allowances here and there. In the meantime, be sure and follow us on our social media accounts. Ricardo will be posting all of those links for you to follow. And remember, I said we were looking for solutions for funding. Well, we would sure appreciate it if you would show us some love by becoming a supporter of our show. $5, $10, $25 a month will help the Texas Grassroots Alliance continue to help our grassroots organizers that are part of our community. And New Endeavor Texas has graciously agreed to sending a sticker for a one-time donation and a t-shirt for a recurring donor. And those t-shirts, girls and boys, are in hot demand, as Alex is modeling for us. Remember, the theme for today is what's going on. But the theme for the whole of our show is we're all stronger when we support each other. Our conversation today is with Alexander Montalvo, who is the founder and CEO of the Catalyst Project, an LLC company, which supports diverse communities to develop economic growth for community impact. Through the Catalyst Project, he has helped develop several progressive grassroots organizations throughout Texas, including the development of the Texas Grassroots Alliance with other grassroots leaders in Texas. Alexander navigates coalition spaces carefully, providing guidance and leadership in a way that allows others to step up and take on leadership roles themselves. He uplifts the hard work already happening in different communities, making sure resources are available equitably. His emphasis on relationship and coalition building is an essential strategy to help ensure community impact work can develop in sustainable ways. And a little story I want to tell. Alex has been so busy crisscrossing the state that he wore out a car and broke down right here in Katy, Texas. And on the spot, he had to get another car. This man is dedicated to the proposition that there is a better world for Texas, that there is a better world for our children, that there is a better world for our families, that there is a better world for our community.
Lydia, thank you so much for that introduction. That was lovely, and I'm just so appreciative of the work that everyone does within the Texas Grassroots Alliance. And I want to give a shout out to Austin today because that's where I'm at in the state of Texas. There is going to be a concert tonight that Texas Turnout is going to be doing to raise funds for organizers in South Texas. And that has been a lot of great work happening from the Texas Turnout team, but also the importance of what we're talking about, which is an alliance that is working together so that we're all stronger together. And so this is a great opportunity to be in Austin, to celebrate their work, and for New Endeavor Texas, one of the organizations I've helped develop, to be able to raise funds for the Hidalgo County cohort that we want to roll out later this year, to continue to train and build organizing infrastructure in an important county where the largest city is McAllen, Texas. So I'm excited to be here with all of y'all, and I'm going to share a couple of slides talking about the Texas Grassroots Alliance. What is it? How did we get started? What's been our journey? And this is really still just capturing just a little bit of it, because there is so much great work happening within the Texas Grassroots Alliance. So let me go ahead and share this with all of y'all. All right, some quick stats to share is the Texas Grassroots Alliance right now is a little over 200 plus orgs and 450 plus leaders. We work to create an efficient and effective means for multiple organizations to communicate and to work towards our common purpose. We want to build in an efficient and effective way for organizations to collaborate and or coordinate advocacy and electoral activities when applicable and appropriate. And we recognize every organization has its own skills. Its leaders has its own skills, but we want to continue to work on building those relationships, building those skills so that we can maximize our strengths throughout the state of Texas. And so the opportunity for us to be able to connect, to be able to work together is really important. Last year, the Texas Grassroots Alliance kicked off the annual Texas 2030 Summit that we'll be having throughout this year until 2030. This year, it's going to be in Dallas, and last year we had it in Houston. And so we're really excited to continue to have this summit go around the state. We're doing different projects around data and mapping. We'll talk a little bit about the Texas Poor People's Campaign. And with this TGA, Grassroots Strong, weekly Friday show, we are implementing more fundraising infrastructure so that we can continue to get resources to grassroots organizers. All right, so let's talk a little bit of how this started. Actually, you know what? I think I have the wrong slide here. All right. Let me share the correct one. All right. So as I shared, three big pillars. We want to build strong relationships. We want to create pathways for communication and collaboration. And we want to boost skills and maximize strengths for grassroots leaders, grassroots organizations. And these are the three big pillars of the Texas Grassroots Alliance. So how did we start? While a lot of us have been working in grassroots organizing for, the last decade, even more, we've been in different coalition spaces. We've done different work together. We've developed various different orgs. It was on January 6th, 2021, when we had the insurrection at the Capitol that grassroots leaders were really talking about a response. And so Daniel Cohen from Indivisible Houston shared an idea around writing a letter, writing a petition, calling for resignation, because there were so many Texas elected officials who were part of that insurrection. And so you can see the list of all the folks we listed that we wanted to have resign, to be able to bring to the attention of Texans. And we ultimately, towards the end of this campaign, this happened on January 6th, and we essentially went for a month of talking to organizations. We eventually got to where over 100 organizations ended up signing this. This little graphic is a press conference that we did with Neil Aquino of Indivisible Houston, who has now developed other organizational efforts and has continued to sustain the John Cornyn protests. Dr. Candace Matthews, Shantae Davis of the Sunrise Movement Houston group. We had a representative with Representative Ron Reynolds, Cristina Centun Ramirez, the founder of JOLT, who is now leading Next Gen America with helping voter registration. And I also got to participate in this. And we ended up having this press conference calling for these resignations that then led to our final action for this particular effort, which is where we did petition drop-offs in collaboration with Voto Latino, Move On, and Indivisible groups, as well as everyone else who was a part of signing that letter. We had 25,000 Texans sign the petition, over 100 organizations. We dropped them off in DC, we dropped them off in Dallas, in Houston, in Austin, and Pearland, Texas, and then we emailed all of these representatives this information about Texans and their frustration about their participation in January 6th. So that was really the moment that helped us work together on this big effort as grassroots organizers across Texas. And we continued these conversations, and a lot of folks were so excited about us being able to work together in this way that we talked about, how do we continue this? How do we keep this going? How do we keep these ideas going? How do we think of bigger ideas of what we have to try to solve in Texas as grassroots organizers? So over the next couple of months in 2021, we started working on various ideas that leaders had identified. And the outcomes of those ideas developed into a website for the Texas Grassroots Alliance, where we've been building a directory, and we've been able to have different events hosted, for people to sign up, and different resources. There's a big game plan for this website that each year we're trying to take a piece at a time to be able to help develop. We had collaborated with Truth by Texas in 2022 to try to build content library for grassroots organizers. This is a long-term project that we'd love to be able to continue to make progress on. Like I shared, we did the Texas 2030 Summit in Houston in collaboration with Black Voters Matter, the GAP Network, and Indivisible. And then we have Trish Contreras here in the audience for those that can see, because we also launched the Texas Progressive Caucus. And if you look at Trish's background, she is showing the newest logo, the brand new logo that was rolled out earlier this year or late last year for the Texas Progressive Caucus. And this was where organizers said that they wanted to have more influence in the Democratic Party. And so they created a project, and then they helped launch the Texas Progressive Caucus, which had its first caucus meeting at the convention in 2022 and was the largest caucus meeting in the entire convention. And I think they're going to have the largest caucus meeting this year as well. So this is all the exciting work that gets developed from grassroots organizers talking, building relationships, and working together. Other things that have been developed is Texas, we have a problem, where we've seen this authoritarian government in Texas continue to take on drastic actions, drastic policy, drastic legislation to try to push for things that are causing harm, but is also helping them accumulate and concentrate their power. The most recent version of this is with Tarrant County Judge Tim O'Hare, where he has been doing uh, action after action that has been impacting the community, that folks are trying to come together to stop the extremism of what's happening, but most importantly, trying to make people aware. And so what's been able to be a great opportunity in Tarrant County is that we have leaders working together around the Commissioner's Court meeting over the past couple of months. People have been working around the work with jails and the Commissioner's Court for years, but this has continued to help solidify that work because grassroots organizers are building those relationships. We've done different efforts for the governor, lieutenant governor, and things like that. We've also had a live stream that Neil Aquino has helped anchor, and we've had different organizers, different guests from Texarkana to Waco to Houston to Austin to North Texas, and we're continuing to look for more opportunities to highlight. This is just an example of some of the shows that we've had with different guests talking about different topics, and this is an opportunity for folks to get plugged in, for grassroots organizers to give their perspective on what's happening in the news, their perspective of what's happening in the day-to-day. And so there's different live stream topics that different organizers can host and can facilitate and talk about so that we can share that information with everyone. And then last but not least, a big collaboration of organizers across the state has been with the Texas Poor People's Campaign. The Poor People's Campaign has been through a process of revitalizing since, I think, 2017, 2018. And in Texas, we had a historic march from Georgetown to Austin in 2021, I believe, or it was 2022. It was around there. And so we had Reverend Barber come out and give a impassionate speech during that time. And since then, grassroots leaders have been trying to build out what the Texas Poor People's Campaign can accomplish in Texas, because our state is so big. We have so many people impacted by poverty and low income wages. In Texas, 40% of our workforce makes less than $15 an hour. And we know that there's over 7 million registered voters in Texas that are either dealing with poverty or low income, that we want to make sure that we're working to wake that sleeping giant here in Texas. And so the Texas Grassroots Alliance has been a key part of developing different ideas. And some of these are long-term ideas. Some of these are big multi-year projects, but this gives a chance for grassroots organizers to have those conversations, to think about what it would take to accomplish those things, and continue to work on what needs to be developed to make that happen. All right.
Alex, in listening to your history with the Texas Grassroots Alliance, what is the takeaway that you have from the perspective of working to get us all organized?
Well, I think one of the big things is that it's important for organizers and leaders to always have the intentionality of connecting with fellow leaders. The more we see leaders taking on that effort to build those relationships, that's a huge, big part of that first step. We've got to build the network. We've got to build the relationships. The next thing is we've got to start creating different effort that can show us what is more impactful, or what's filling the gaps, or how we make the change that we're trying to go after. And then we get to learn from each other. And so that's a big part of it as well. Ultimately, though, this work takes a lot of time, takes a lot of development, whether it's building relationships or whether it's implementing work and building projects and then seeing how those go. And we see right now that 60% of grassroots organizers in Texas that the Texas Grassroots Alliance has been able to connect with are unpaid in this work. 15% are part-time or temporarily paid, and 25% are full-time paid. But of those that have full-time pay, a lot of times they don't have full-time benefits. And so what we really need to help sustain this this effort and to sustain the work that is this long-term work, we do need resources for grassroots organizers. It's essential that this workforce is being able to be sustained, because if we lose grassroots organizers at the rate that we usually lose them, which is about every 2 to 4 years, we continue to impact our ability to have that progress. And that's what we want to try to eliminate. We don't want to keep losing talent, even if people have to, take a slower or take a less of a role, kind of, the plate gets too full. Whatever it is, as long as they stay in the work, we don't lose that knowledge, we don't lose those connections and those skills.
And I understand that you brought also a clip of one particular organizing effort, grassroots organizing effort that was successful. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so I'm going to highlight some of the work of Indivisible Houston, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into their work. But grassroots organizers in Houston came together, and it was some of the live stream shows that we had where we highlighted the impact that they had on their primary election. They saw a need for a change in the Democratic representation. And so we recorded a live stream with them at their celebration party. And so I'm going to share this clip, and that way y'all can see a little bit of the excitement that they had from that night. And then we'll dive in a little deeper on it.
It's super, it's like loud, and the stream is quiet over here, but it's awesome over here.
That's David Galvin.
We got all kinds of like awesome people and activists here. I'm gonna give you a quick, let's see if you can see behind me, there's a stage that's set up for Sean Thierry's gonna address the audience soon. He's been up about 4-1 in the polls. All 3 out of 4 indivisible candidates, indivisible Houston candidates this evening have already won outright. There's one that's going to probably be in a runoff. So right now we're looking at a clean sweep, grand slam, whatever metaphor you want to come up with. But we're having a great election night over here, guys. How are y'all?
We're doing good. We just went through Collin County. We just went through Tarrant County. And we want to hear from you guys in Harris County. Tell us more about this DA race. What is the impact? What are people saying? What was it like preparing for the primary election and early voting? Give us the details.
So the short version of it is that this is the greatest grassroots uprising, electorally speaking, that I think I've ever seen in Harris County. That we had a 2-term incumbent who abused people left and right, who everyone had 3 and 4 and 5 and 10 different reasons to vote against, and we needed to make sure and go and tell people to do it. It was 6 months of grinding to make sure that that we would get the outcome that we saw tonight, and we got it right out of the gate. We knew, because it was 3-1 in the early votes. It's up 79-21 right now. We'll see how election day turns out.
And they've kicked the press out of her party. It was a private party to start with, and now they kicked the press out.
Yep. So we don't get to see the sad faces of Kim Og's folks, but that's okay, because we see the happy faces of everybody over here, and that's awesome. And it's amazing. I mean, it's great. It was volunteer led, this whole thing. We're going to make sure to tell people exactly what was done. It was precinct chairs, it was indivisibles, it was independent activists, it was people who have been at this for a long time telling the truth. Whether it was electorally on the ground knocking doors, or if it was media, or if it was people just straight up telling the truth, like Neil and the Houston Democracy Project. The point is that this is a major movement, and that we show that if we assert our power, that we can get outcomes like this. I think that this is historic. So
it's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning. It's up and down the ballot. We're going to have runoffs later on, but I think there's a real tangible positive impact of all this.
So, Neil, Nick, any questions for Daniel and Rebecca with this amazing, to quote Daniel, the greatest grassroots organizing uprising in Harris County? Anything y'all want to ask for Daniel and Rebecca?
Did you have a question there, Nick?
Yeah, I did. So this is to Dan and Rebecca. So do you think there's a great correlation between your great victories tonight? And did it actually, did you notice anything when the mayoral race happened that this could happen tonight?
So I think what's so interesting about the mayoral race is people have been saying for months, oh no, Whitmire won, the Republicans are surging in Harris County. But if I may steal your language for a second, Neil, off year, special interest funded, low turnout election, nonpartisan is different than an electoral year where you have a primary year with Cruz, Trump on the ballot, not to mention. So really, I think that people, like, the advantage that we have as activists is imagination, right? And when people lack an imagination, they just look at the most recent news story. If you look at the most recent major news cycle, it's going to be the mayoral race. But we said, no, we refuse to accept that kind of reality. And we had good reasons to think otherwise. You can see some of our stickers.
Can you see some of our stickers?
There you go.
Make Greg Abbott sad. Vote.
But yeah, that's Rebecca. You have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think Daniel, this is a strong suit.
What about you, David? You want to say anything?
I'll just chime in and saying labor in particular worked their butts off. We worked our butts off for Sean in particular, and we are just ecstatic with the results so far.
I totally agree. The major groups, I think labor really did their duty. Like,
we get all the major groups on the same page, along with the presenters and the activists. We're really a powerful movement. So we need to keep reminding people of that so that we can keep our voter turnout up at the level of volume we need to see this state flip sometime.
Totally agree.
All right, so that's just a little bit of a preview of that interview. You can watch the whole live stream on the Texas Grassroots Alliance YouTube page. We have that a 17-minute clip in total with Daniel and Rebecca talking about Houston and the results of what they did. But I think there's two key things that Daniel talked about is the power of grassroots organizers working together for about 6 months that created the greatest grassroots organizing uprising in Harris County, and that it's the power of grassroots organizers and our imagination that allows us to break through what the news cycles say, what the pundits say, and what even people in different leadership positions will say. We are the ones on the ground connected to community, where people are living, where people are talking. And it's that ability for grassroots organizers to know the pulse of the people, to know the pulse of the communities, to be able to work towards something like this that nobody saw coming, nobody thought could happen, but grassroots organizers were able to make it a reality.
One of the things that strikes me about this particular effort is that we have a lot of efforts centered around electing people. And we almost have no efforts centered around holding the people we elect accountable for their actions. And it was this movement in Harris County of accountability that highlighted the need to hold the people you elect accountable for the decisions that they make after they get your vote. Anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah,
Alex?
that's actually a perfect segue because I'm going to share with you all the impact report that Invisible Houston produced, breaking down how did they accomplish this? How did they ultimately hold this Democratic district attorney accountable for the actions they had taken and rally the people to make a change? And so let me share with you this impact report. This is a little preview that everyone here gets to see a little bit before the publication of this report, which it will be published soon, and we'll continue to be working with people to uplift this work and the results of this impact report. So there's a special message from Daniel. Daniel is a writer. As you may have remembered, Daniel was the one who instigated our letter to the resignation to people who participated January 6th. That's when you see grassroots organizers having such unique talent and how we get to help strengthen that talent and utilize that talent because those strengths exist. So Daniel has a letter to folks around the importance of Houston, why this was so important and what happened. And so when it gets published, this will be a great piece to be able to read. But what they highlight is that they had a slate of 4 candidates that they focused on. And it was all centered around the district attorney and the infrastructure towards having justice in the county for people because of the promises that the incumbent DA had broken. So Sean Tier was the district attorney, 175 to 25%. Allison Mathis was a candidate for criminal court, 162 to 38%. Christian Menifee was the incumbent county attorney that they wanted to keep, won 70 to 30%. And Jamel Haynes made it to the runoff, which is happening right now. And that election will be decided on May 28th. And so they're hoping that all that work will hopefully help them have Jamel Haynes win that criminal court seat there. But the challenge was that when the DA Kim Ogg first entered in 2016, the community had high hopes. Ogg promised to support misdemeanor cash bail reform, clear out the rape kit backlog at the county, and decriminalize almost all cases of personal marijuana possession. However, within months, the DA dashed a lot of those hopes and started to recant on these promises. And so as people saw this develop and then saw what she was doing to be able to help weaponize the DA's office in ways that the community was not in agreement with, this is where people started to talk about their frustration, but no one really had a pathway to do this. And so one of the big program elements for Indivisible Houston was communications and media. And so they worked with precinct chairs, they worked with other activists, and they worked on a communication game plan that they could help get the word out to more individuals. But really, it was first about organizing the organizers. So 9 months before the March Harris County Democratic Party primary, those collection of activists and organizers in various roles came together to discuss whether this could happen. And it was through those discussions and through the vision that was developed by this collective that they pursued a game plan that ultimately ended up being extremely successful. And so this is some pictures of them doing block walking. They had, Voter Action Network. They used Mobilize. They had door hangers. They paid for organizing stipends. And then, was able to resource enough. There was still a lot of volunteers, as Daniel said. And this is where these kind of things can be done. It took a huge effort by people sacrificing their own time, their own resources to make it happen. So let's look at the timeline of activities. In August is when they had that tabled conversation. In September, the Houston Chronicle publishes an article about Kim Ogg and the problems that people have seen as she goes after political opponents. And then in October, they started to work on an admonishment resolution. And they worked with precinct chairs to develop this admonishment resolution. It had to go through a very lengthy process, which takes a lot of steps, takes a lot of focus, keeping people committed through November. And then in December, on December 12th, they were able to admonish the DA with a vote of 129 to 61, which they had many more votes in favor of this for folks who couldn't make it to this meeting, but told Daniel, if you need us, let us know, and we will be there if we absolutely have to. And so what this shows is not only does this collective have the power to admonish a DA, but this collective now has the power to be able to elect the next county chair and to be able to push for reforms within the county party. And this is what kind of opened a lot of people's eyes to this. In January, Indivisible Houston officially announced their slate. Once that admonishment was done, the AFL-CIO followed afterwards, aligning with the Indivisible Houston slate. And then in February, you saw organizations like Texas Organizing Project jump in and scale up operations a month before the election. And so it was great to be able to see grassroots organizers work with organizations of all different sizes. And then March 5th was the election. But once again, this goes back from August all the way to March. And this was led by grassroots organizers. As great as some of our larger organizations are, as great as some other efforts can be, it wasn't until grassroots organizers developed a plan, saw that plan through, that then the accumulation of everyone's work could make an impact like it made. And so their program success, they have a budget of what it took to make this happen at a very, very cheap cost. It's not the cost that we'd want to sustain people at, but this was to be able to show that if just resources are given to grassroots organizers, there's magic that can happen. They had over $50 million in earned media value in 6 months, including a 4-month control of the news cycle. They had over 200,000 plus impressions on Facebook and over 200,000 impressions on Twitter, and had different mechanisms and structures to be able to help get the word out and to be able to amplify the message that they wanted. And so this organizing success consisted of 3,200 doors canvassed, 5,000 pieces of lit distributed, 29 precincts covered, 26 events, and 47 volunteers. And so this is a huge accomplishment that shows the power of grassroots organizers.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you very much. And it's amazing what small group of dedicated people. Who was it that said, never doubt that one person can change the world, or words to that effect? Well, here it was quite a few people who were dedicated to changing the world, and they were able to make an impact that we know will continue for a while here in Harris County and beyond. So let's hope that some of our other organizing groups can get together with Harris County, with Indivisible, and talk to them and pick their brain about a project that you have, that you care about, and see if they can help you figure out how to do that. Or ask Alex. He has a wealth of information. So right now, we're at that part of the show where we're going to be asking you to drop in the chat, what is the thing that has impressed you the most about what you've heard today? Or what is that aha moment that you got during this broadcast? Or if you want, raise your hand, your virtual hand, and Ricardo will unmute you and you can talk directly to us. How about that? Hi, Trish.
I hope everyone is doing okay, staying out of that heat, because it is a mess out there. Thank you for doing this. This is fantastic. Whatever we can do to reach folks is always a great idea. I am Trish with I guess let me introduce myself. Trish with Indivisible Austin, and it's great to be here with you guys. Been doing a lot of organizing with and for each other in the last couple of years. I will say that as far as Indivisible Austin is concerned, we do have some movement happening. We are in the middle of, or in the beginnings, I should say, of doing we haven't come up with the name, but basically we have a target of House districts that we are going to focus on, and not just engaging with voters, but to actually see if we can recruit some folks and bring them along to work on this new project that we're about to launch. We will be doing all kinds of events, including going to, I think we have a target of like 9 House districts, and just really quickly, let me name those off for you. We will be focusing on House District 55, that's over by Temple and Taclean. We will be also focusing on House District 45, which is Benton County, House District 121, San Antonio, House District 52, Williamson County, also House District 108, and I'm sorry, I gotta wear my glasses here. Much better. House District 108 and 112, which is out in Dallas, 118, San Antonio, 138 in Harris County, and lastly, House District 44, which is my area. That is Seguin in Guadalupe County. And we will be, just had a meeting last night at our congressional district, which is 15, and we which is the Guadalupe County Democratic Club meeting. And we're also discussing ways that we will be reaching voters in our district from starting June to election day. So we've got a lot of planning to do, a lot going on there. Some of the strategies that we will be looking into is actually we'll be going to festivals. I know there's a lot of parades happening in some of these districts for, say, like, for example, July 4th. So we will be going to football games, soccer games, anywhere where we can feel that we can reach out and engage with voters. That is what we will be doing. So lots of things coming our way. And I will be more than happy to keep you guys updated as to where, when, what, but we're super excited. I know that we are going to be doing these efforts in collaboration with other organizations, including Equity Action, also the Texas Poor People's Campaign, and a few other organizations out in Central Texas areas. So really psyched, really excited. So
thank you.
I'll keep you guys updated.
Thank you, Trish, for that update. And maybe down the road, you will volunteer to be on the show and share your strategies with us and how you are fundraising for
Absolutely.
all of this to occur. Okay.
Absolutely.
So for now, we want to reiterate our tagline, and that is, we're all stronger when we support each other. And next week, we will be meeting once again. We will be sending out the topic to you and letting you know. In the meantime, it'll be the same bat time, same bat channel, same link that you used today will work next week. We have one request of you. Tell your friends and bring 2 or 3 with you to our next show. And let's see if we can grow this audience. At this time, I want to also thank the people that have been working in the background to get this show together. First and foremost, our inspiration for this idea was from the Virginia Friday Power Lunch. The Virginia group of ladies that call themselves the Nova Network, they have had the Friday Power Lunch at 11 o'clock our time since the pandemic. And it is a very successful show. They were very generous with their time in helping us figure out how to do this. And we will be on their show next week where they're going to talk about other states that are also interested in doing this kind of highlighting show. In the meantime, don't forget, we need some love to be able to keep on going on. So a donation of any kind is deeply appreciated. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all those links are faithfully put in the chat by our behind the scenes producer, Ricardo Guerrero, who likes to be in the background, he said. There he is, he's showing us who he is. And Neil Aquino has been also working with us to get this show, and of course Alex and myself and Trish. So thank you all very much. We will see you next week, and if you would like to stay for the after chat, we're here.